3D Mario was introduced back in June of 1996 with the launch of Super Mario 64, which revolutionized the Mario franchise and video games alike. Sure, Nintendo had already revolutionized the video game industry with Super Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong, but this shaped the industry far more than those two could have ever done. Over the years, we've gotten a lot more 3D Marios. Super Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, 3D Land, 3D World, Mario Odyssey, and Bowser's Fury. Mario started with you, the player, controlling Mario through a magical seeming land with pipes and enemies all around. The clouds lived, there were species we had never even conceived in our heads, everything was just so unique. As the Mario franchise kept going, it sprouted a huge fanbase and it was clear everyone was familiar with it. Tons of people grew up with it too, making future generations do the same. But there was no one new to impress with the magical pipes and Koopas, so they had to scatter more ideas to be more unique. These games always went left to right, a two-dimensional standpoint. While this was pretty limited, the possibilities they could do with just 2 dimensions was pretty crazy. But Nintendo decided to continue on and add a 3rd dimension, further revolutionizing the video game industry. Even more possibilities could be achieved through this, with Super Mario Sunshine being a fun vacation turned around into chaos. Although the plot of Mario games are generally the same every time, Nintendo has some creative ways to make it different. The basic premise of every Mario game is basically the same. You save Princess being kidnapped by a giant lizard. Most other games stick to a similar plot repeat too, like Pikmin for example. In every new Mario game, Nintendo will shape the plot differently with the same basic premise of the princess being kidnapped by Bowser. Take Mario Galaxy for example. Bowser kidnaps Peach and makes his own galaxy with Peach by his side. Kind of stupid that you're tying Mario into this by kidnapping Princess Peach in the first place, because he's just gonna foil your plans and save the universe. Will Bowser ever learn? Well, in Super Mario Odyssey and the Super Mario Bros. Movie, it is revealed to us that the whole reason Bowser even kidnaps the princess is because he's in love with her and wants to roll alongside her, so it doesn't entirely make zero sense. In Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World, it's just the same overworld map in a 2D game, but it's 3-dimensional this time. But in 3D World, Bowser is kidnapping Sprixies in jars for whatever reason instead of Peach, and this is located in the Sprixie Kingdom rather than the Mushroom Kingdom, as most games are. Another twist most 3D games went for was to be different from its 2D predecessor, and located in different locations other than the Mushroom Kingdom. For example, Super Mario Sunshine was located in Isle Delfino, Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 were located in space, Super Mario 3D World was located in the Sprixie Kingdom as I just mentioned, and Super Mario Odyssey was even located in kingdoms outside of the Mushroom Kingdom, with the original kingdom included of course. The ideas were unique every time with 3D Mario titles, but with 2D Mario titles they were kinda lazy. Let me explain. The last 2D Mario title to release was Super Mario Land 2 in 1992, and 14 years later, New Super Mario Bros. Was introduced. But this became a series, and every game after didn't add much and it was lazy. It got stale, and that's a big reason why 3D Mario is so much bigger. But 2D Mario proved it could be better. After a decade of no new 2D Mario games since New Super Luigi U, Nintendo broke the staleness and gave everyone something fresh, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. As I said earlier, the 2D games were limited but still had so many untouched possibilities. Super Mario Bros. Wonder proved 2D games can step away from the original tradition and be even better. Sure, while change can be risky, the direction Nintendo took with this was well worth it and, pun intended, wonderful. The new art style being the freshest change. Other games like PvZ struggle stepping away from the original art style, so it was a bit risky. Due to confusion, Nintendo removed one of the first ever features to ever be included in Mario games, the time limit and the point system. The points were pointless and took up space, so I see why they would remove it, even after being there for the entire franchise's lifespan. But the time limits removal was a different story. There were time limits for wonder effects sometimes, and Nintendo didn't want to confuse new players specifically, so easy solution, remove the time limit altogether. This also gives a lot of time for exploration, but sadly removes challenges for extra levels that could be shorter, like Pretty Palazzo Panic, but I think they made the right decision. While it has already been proven 2D Mario can be great, or even better than 3D Mario, there is still a lot of untouched possibilities, like an open world 2D game like Celeste, and the badges could help with that too. There was no deadline, and tons of new young employees working at Nintendo that came up with some pretty creative ideas. I'll have to admit, I've tried my hand at some creativity before, and I can't pull it off nearly as well as Nintendo. I painted a pumpkin in my art class with inspiration from Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but it just ended up childish. But what made Nintendo so memorable was how magical it all was. The first Mario game was so new at the time that no one had ever thought of it before, so Nintendo was at a bit of a blockade trying to bring back 2D Mario. Mario. But of course, they made their way around it. Nintendo held an idea meeting, which resulted in over 2,000 sticky notes of ideas, and even the game's musical producer, Koji Kondo, gave some, and that resulted in the game's very musical side. They even said they had too many ideas, which might result in a sequel or DLC like Super Mario Galaxy 2 did. These ideas were too wacky to just include, so they had to compromise, and they came up with the Wonder Flower. This caused a drug effect and really anything to happen, allowing the team to use all of their wacky ideas and for you, the player, to expect the unexpected. Another thing I noticed is that Mario would never be alone. He always had a companion on his side. This brings up a lot more potential, like Flood in Super Mario Sunshine or the Lumas in Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. They all had a way to fit in and shape the way the game is played, to the point where without it isn't normal. Take Super Mario Sunshine for example. They ripped the game's main mechanic, Flood, away from you in some levels so you can see how the game would play if they had never come up with that wacky idea to introduce to you, because they introduced them to you as the main mechanic and shape all of your obstacles around using them. Use Super Mario Odyssey for example. Without Cappy, it would be really weird and play out totally different if they had never come up with it. They stripped Cappy away from you in Mario Odyssey as well. Nintendo never really did these companions in 2D games, but Super Mario Bros. Wonder broke that tradition. The Wonder Flower was already a very unique way to shape the 2D games, but badges allowed for you to use different abilities to your advantage. Prince Florian, not this one, is there to lead you through your journey and take back the kingdom that he rightfully owns. But he isn't just there to give you feedback, liven up your adventure, and talk. He has a somewhat positive effect as well. Just like Cappy, used to make through your adventure and talk to whenever the game tries telling you something. Although Prince Florian is a bit more forced in, as it doesn't affect your journey too much to use or not use a badge, but they did their best job at adding a 2D companion. We also have the Talking Flower for that. No effect on gameplay, but just someone to talk to, which is always nice and appreciated. Although Nintendo has been making these games for years, they somewhat managed to keep them from getting stale. The Super Mario Bros. Movie proved Nintendo can do much more than just games and will probably branch out to making more movies with their other franchises and reach new heights to set the expectations from old fans and new ones alike higher than ever. The first Mario games seemed so new and unique at the time of release and were shaped to seem more basic later on, but with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Nintendo proved they could turn around the staleness of the 2D Mario games and New Super Mario Bros. Series to make something far better. Not just with 3D, but with 2D as well. The possibility of Mario games are endless.